Elon is commemorating an anniversary of its own this week. Wednesday will mark 100 years since the fire that destroyed most of Elon's campus. Our Ellis Chandler reports.
100 years ago, the Elon community had no idea how fire would become so integrated into the campus community.
I stood on our front porch on Haggard Avenue and watched Old Main burn.
Edith Brannick was an Elon graduate in 1939. She was growing up and was a small child when the fire took place.
He was getting up early to turn on the power, and he saw a flickering light in one of the classrooms.
George Troxler is a former Elon professor and historian. He wrote a book about campus and said what students mistook for a light left on was something much more sinister. It was the fire that would shape Elon's campus as we know it today.
All of the classrooms, all of the offices, faculty offices, administrative offices, the library, that was essentially the college.
The fire took place on January 18th, 1923. Old Main was built in 1890 and served as the centerpiece of campus. An edition of the student newspaper, known as the Maroon and Gold, that next morning called the fire the greatest catastrophe in the history of Elon College. The fire caused an estimated $125,000 to $150,000 in damage. Schedules and locations for classes were released and resumed just one day after the fire. For the rest of the semester, classes met in the men's and women's gyms, dorms, the post office, and even in the homes of faculty members. But that move was only temporary. Days after the fire, fundraising efforts began. The Board of Trustees voted to rebuild the campus and created an emergency fund committee with the goal of raising $600,000, half for construction and half for a permanent endowment. The Board of Trustees voted to rebuild the campus and create an emergency fund committee with the goal of raising $600,000. Half would be for construction and half would be for Elon's permanent endowment. Over the next 2 years, 5 new buildings were created: Alamance, Whitley, Carleton, Mooney, and Duke, which now make up the academic buildings in the historic neighborhood along with Powell. Now, students like Elon senior Megan Curling serve on the 1923 Engagement Committee, which will launch a series of year-long programming this Wednesday.
It's a beast, but it's been really fun to see everyone from across campus. We have representatives from University Communications, archives, athletics, basically anywhere you can think of on campus coming together to come up with these events. We have a lot of meetings and a lot of subcommittees and all of the things you could imagine to plan over a dozen events throughout the year, kind of hallmarked by 4 pretty major events that are in each of the quarters.
Curling says the committee's work is all about commemorating the fire rather than celebrating it.
Been a lot of learning about the history of Elon and understanding how the community has supported us and how we've really grown into this really large university from what started as a tiny college. So it's been really neat, and I'm really excited that we get to share all of the events and all of this knowledge that we've kind of compiled with the university community this year.
Curling says as the committee continues to meet and plan such a historic event over the course of this year, it's about making sure the greater community is involved as well. Ellis Chandler, Elon Local News.
A preview on anniversary programming and Elon's history on our website, elonnewsnetwork.com, this Wednesday.